Oh, by the way, sorry I haven't edited the first one yet. I got started on it and got kind of derailed, but yeah, it's like 4 hours of editing.
I
Yeah,
told you, man. I told you. Even for just the purposes of editing, like if you want to talk about lots of stuff, we can do multiple ones. But I think we got to rein ourselves in a little more about like how we talk about content
yeah,
and like I guess like segment ourselves a little better just for the purposes of editing because it
yeah,
can get really out of hand.
for sure. I mean, I've been really happy just to kind of like do the practicing thing. I think it's certain there's value to us just sitting here and chatting with each other and getting used to, rhythm, cadence, whatever.
Mhm.
There's certainly value to it, but yeah, in the future, it would be helpful to if we had topics that we like stuck to. Again, I take responsibility just because you've been killing it with the shared document, and if we followed that, I'm sure it would be helpful. But I haven't contributed very much lately. I'm gonna do better this week. But yeah, one thing I was trying to figure out was like, am I just going to edit the whole thing together? Into one like 4 hour video. That would be like the easiest thing. Just go in and pull out the dead air or whatever.
Mhm.
Going through and like cookie cuttering out, good segments where we were chatting. It's like that stuff just it would take me so long, re-listening to the whole thing, organizing
Yep.
it. So just something to consider moving forward. But I will get that video edited today and I'll put it up. I have to make a YouTube channel for our shared email account.
Mhm. I really do think that the first thing we publish should be like maybe a short intro video, like just who are we? What the fuck are we doing here? Why are we doing it?
Why are we doing this? Yeah, that is a good question. Um, yeah,
What
maybe
are we
that's
what are
some.
we trying to accomplish, you know? Like it's great that we have these conversations and like I'm sure that there are some people that would listen to 4 hours of us just shooting the shit back and forth and talking about stuff. Um, but I think if we want it to be like an actual digestible resource for people, or I know you said the whole point of why you want to do this was at least help somebody. I think to be realistic to that point, we have to be a little more pointed.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And maybe I do enjoy our chats and stuff like that. Maybe it means breaking it into two podcasts or something where we're really on topic for 40 minutes and then the rest is just whatever we feel like.
Yeah, I'm
It
absolutely down to just like have one where we shoot the shit about movies.
Yeah, if we have the energy and stuff, because like I don't really get tired of doing this. Like after a couple hours I start thinking about the editing, so it does start to kind of be like, okay, I gotta rein this in a little bit. But yeah, I would say generally things are going very well. I agree, a bit better focus would certainly serve us. And yeah, if we wanted to make a little intro video, because I was thinking about like a title card just at the beginning of the thing with maybe a bit of music, uh, but also having something like, when you go to YouTube and you go to somebody's channel, usually there's a video that's like, typically it says, hey, subscribe, blah, 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 follow my whatever.
Hmm.
Just having a quick thing that's like, hi, I'm Ruby, I'm Ryan, and we like to talk about mental health or whatever. We could like
Hmm.
script it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
make it look better. Um, but yeah, something to think about in the future. First things first, I got to get these videos edited and then I'll work on the next steps. Anyway, oh, I wanted to ask you. I remember when we met forever ago. You were musically inclined at the time. Have you kept up with
Meh,
guitar
kind
or
of.
anything like that?
Like I play guitar. I don't take it seriously at all. Um, like I do it as a way of like stress relief. And the only reason I even learned how to play guitar in the first place is because I sing,
Mm,
and I just didn't want to like sing a cappella all the time.
yeah.
um, and when I first got my guitar, I was like really young and I was like in the very, very, very early season of recovery. So I was like, I just had a lot of feelings and I didn't really
Mm,
have a constructive way to get them out. So I was like songwriting, you know, and just like really, really, really simple stuff. I learned like 5 or 6 chords and was like, all right, let's go.
yeah. I
But
feel like
I do not really like advertise that I'm musically inclined.
yeah. I think we're probably similar in that regard. Like I I do the exact same thing. I know a
I
handful of
also
chords.
can't read music, so
I can't read music. I look at tabs. If I hear a song that I think, oh, I could probably play some of that, I'll go look up a tab. But
ultimate guitar.
yeah,
Woo!
I was thinking about how they have nailed that niche, like
Yeah,
ultimate guitar. Like I don't even know what the other sites are or other
I
resources
have
for
never
those.
used another one, and I've literally been using ultimate guitar since 2010.
Yeah,
Like same account, same everything. All my tabs are saved 2010.
that's I think back to when I was in high school and I was doing that a lot more frequently, and yeah, it was ultimate guitar the whole time. That was like 15 years ago. They've nailed it. Good for
Yeah,
them, I guess.
they got it down. I've even subscribed to like the when I was taking music a little more seriously. I was in a relationship with somebody and we made music together. So like they would play and I would sing. And some stuff I would play like rhythm and they would play the harmony and the melody or whatever. At that time I was taking it a little more seriously and subscribed to their like the pro or whatever it is, and it'll do the like tab, but it like you can set a speed so that you can learn specific parts, and like if you want to play the same part over and over again, it'll actually like loop
Yeah,
and it'll just keep going through.
it's really helpful.
Super helpful. Except I hate metronomes. They distract the shit out of me. I can keep time in my own head. I don't need a metronome.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just have to like when I did have a guitar teacher when I was like a really young teenager, he would always get really mad at me because he would tell me to tap my foot or use the metronome, but I just have like an internal rhythm that constantly is going in 4/4 time. And he would get super mad at me because I wouldn't do the things he was asking.
Yeah, let's knock it off, dude. Yeah, chill.
Right? I'd be like, if I'm playing it in time, like what's the problem?
Yeah. Oh, I do get annoyed with just to blow that up a little bit, like I do get annoyed when people get stressed out over shit that's not important. You know, it's like if it works, but it was done a different way than what you were expecting, just shut the fuck up, you know, leave me alone.
Yeah. Just because I didn't meet your expectation, but I met the expectation.
Yeah.
Like who cares?
Yeah. I just hassle with the music because I think I would make a little musical sting for the beginning, but you mentioned something really interesting about how therapeutic it is to play music. And like you and I both, we don't have like real strong musical abilities or anything, just a handful of chords and the practice. Doing like the finger dexterity does take practice. But like usually when I play my guitar, it's usually when I'm like kind of bummed out or I've just got some emotional energy, and it really helps me dump it to just slam on a few chords, or I might even sing if I feel like it.
Oh yeah, belting out a song? Hell yes. I have a go-to song for when I'm feeling certain ways. It's great.
Do you
That's
want
my like I need to get some shit going.
It's like an emotional dump kind of song.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like there's certain songs that I like won't play anymore because they make me feel a certain way or they're associated with a certain thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had songs that I quite liked that kind of get spoiled by breakups or things like that. It's just like I listened to it. It used to be a happy memory, and now less so. Or
one of my absolute favorite songs, my mom ruined because she wanted me to play it for her fucking funeral.
Oh.
I was like, are you serious?
Yeah,
okay,
you want me to associate this song with that?
I still play it from time to time, but every time I do, like it's tarnished now, you know? I can't enjoy it the same way I used to. And it used to mean so much to me, and now it's just like, meh.
Well, that's kind of unfortunate, you know. I wonder if there's
entire bands. People have ruined entire bands for me. Coheed and Cambria can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was like a 1-2 strike. It was bad.
I wonder if there's a way to reclaim that. You know what I mean? Like
I've been trying.
Maybe therapy.
I've really been trying. Yeah, probably actually.
It seems like you know, something to bring up with your therapist. I feel because I do my therapy privately and it's expensive and I can't afford it. I'm like, that's not something I would bring up with my therapist. But like, how do you like learn to re-like a song that you don't like anymore? I feel like I really need to get to the deep shit when I talk to him. So I'm like, yeah, I'm paying for this hour.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would just be interested to hear what people say about it's those associations, isn't it? It works the same way. We were talking about comfort items, and it's almost like there's an inverse, right? Like the comfort items, the discomfort song. I have one too. It's kind of weird.
Smells is my thing. I associate. So I have a whole playlist on Spotify, and it's
Here's my comfort blanket. I feel like Linus because it's blue. I brought this with me when I moved. This came on a plane with me.
Zephyr has a blanket named Tom, and that's his baby blanket. And I have worked very, very hard to make sure that Tom stays as intact as possible because I absolutely cannot replace it. And he's done very well. For 10 years old, he is looking great. But if Zephyr ever lost Tom, he would fucking lose his shit. Because that's the only thing. That's the only thing that he's really, really, really attached to. Like, he has tons of stuffed animals and stuff, but none of them are Tom. Like,
yeah. I have, I think it's at my parents' place, but I have a little brown bear that I've had since I was born probably. And I don't like take it around with me or anything, but like, I would be really upset if something happened to it, like a fire or something.
When I was going through like a bunch of my mom's stuff, she had some stuff that I had left when I moved out when I was 16, and it was like stuff that I'd had from like childhood that I wasn't quite sure if would survive my teenage life. And now looking back on it, I don't know why I didn't just get rid of it, but I have this bunny, okay, and it was given to me by my step granddad's dad, if that makes sense. It was like my grandmother's second husband's father.
Okay.
And every time I see it, I'm like fully back in this like terrified child mode, because like that was the person, like that's one of the people that abused me. And weirdly enough did not take this trophy from me. And like it's like a bunny wearing a little jumper, and it says Honey Bunny across the front of it, and it has like a music box in the back of it that I'm pretty sure plays Chopin. Okay. And every single time I see it, I immediately feel so sick, but I cannot bring myself to get rid of it. And I absolutely have zero understanding of why, because I hate it. I hate that it's in my house. I hate that it makes me feel those things. I absolutely despise that it makes me feel small and alone and scared, because I know I'm so much bigger than those things and I've moved on past so much of that trauma. But like, why does that one single item that makes me feel all of those things also make me feel so fucking attached to it? What is that? Why?
Yeah, like, I think that's fascinating. But you ever hear about like people that are in abusive relationships? There's a weird mechanic where like you know obviously the abuse is bad, but something happens in your brain where you attach to that person. Like,
trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding, yeah. Maybe there's an element of that there. You know what I mean? Like,
but to a physical item, I could see like the person. If I was to see them in public and be like, I'm really attached to this person, I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but I feel all of these things. But it's an inanimate object. Yeah. Like, is my life going to be substantially changed if its presence isn't in my life anymore? Will I really notice? It's in the back of a closet, and it's been there for years now because I just can't bring myself to look at the stupid fucking thing. Yeah. But the thought of giving it away or throwing it in the garbage or burning it, like if any harm was to come to it, I would feel such grief. And like, I don't get where that comes from. Even now, I'm like, I can feel I'm getting anxious just talking about it. Like,
it's a really tangible effect, like it's clearly, right? It clearly has an effect. Yeah, I think that's super fascinating. I mean, like, I think about what a therapist told me about writing down bad memories and then burning them, like as a symbol.
I've done that. It's fantastic. It's a great way of like getting out those emotions. It's just this one stupid thing.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if there's like something unaddressed, I mean, I don't know anything about therapy other than doing it once in a while. So I don't know, but like I could only speculate why. Either way, I think that's really interesting that
Yeah, me too.
we're
And I'd
holding on
really
to
love for
this.
it to end.
Ah,
I'd really love for it to end. The grip that this stupid little bunny has on me.
yeah, that's just,
Hate it. Hate it. And I don't use that word lightly.
yeah.
I think I've also sworn more in the last 3 minutes of us talking than the entire, I don't know, 10 hours before
Yeah,
this.
I think you're right, actually. I don't hear you swear very often. Huh. I hope I'm not
Got
swearing too much. I tend to
got
swear way too much.
worked up. Oh, I swear a lot, but I'm trying to sound smart while we do this. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep myself a little more composed.
Well, it's interesting. I've definitely heard, I hate saying things like this without having the citation, but I've definitely recall reading that like
Magic
swearing,
of editing.
yeah, the magic edit, yeah. I don't want to put that much effort into it. But like if you say hit your thumb with a hammer and you go, and you let it out, there's a tangible, like it's comforting, like to actually
Oh yeah.
swear, like
I
it's,
absolutely take that approach with Zephyr. A lot of my friends and a lot of Zephyr's family even were like, why do you let him swear? Like, he's a little kid. And I'm like, does it hurt you? Is he doing it because he wants to hurt you? No. Does it make him feel better in that moment? Yeah. So am I going
yeah,
to let him do it because it's just a word and it's not a weapon? Absolutely. Do we also have conversations about context and when it's okay to
yeah,
use them? Totally. Don't do it at school. Don't do it with your friends because their parents don't feel the same way I do about it.
yeah.
Like it's,
Be
and
polite.
I think it's hilarious to hear little kids swear because they're just like, first of all, little kids, like, they're just developing the way that their words shape their mouths shape words. Wow. Okay.
Sometimes it takes 32 years.
Yeah. Oh, grown adults still working on it. The way that kids mouths shape words, like there's always something just like slightly off about it
A
because they haven't
little
quite
lack
mastered
of
it yet,
coordination or something. Yeah.
right? So like a little kid doing it is hilarious. I remember when Zephyr was, I think, almost two, uh we were having Christmas Eve dinner with my boss and his girlfriend and my roommate who was my boss's brother. And Zephyr was sitting at the end of the table in his high chair, and he dropped a potato off the edge of his like little tray thing. And the four of us are having an adult conversation, and from the end of the table, all we hear is shit. All of us immediately stop, look at each other, and burst out laughing because he's just sitting there like he swore, understood that he swore, and then was like, "Is this okay? Is this
Yeah.
okay?"
Oh,
Hilarious. I love it. I think that as long as he's not using them to explicitly hurt somebody, like he doesn't have the intention of making someone feel bad about themselves by using that word or any word in general, that it's perfectly fine because it's just a word until you give it power.
yeah. Well, the context of it matters. It's different if you hit your thumb with the hammer and you're in your workshop alone or whatever, right? Who gives a shit? It's when you start swearing at people and using it aggressively and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
There's been times where I hear him like talking to his friends while they're like playing video games or something, and I'm just like, "Hey, man, rein it in. That's
yeah,
like too much. Too much."
it can be. It's weird. Like I don't necessarily like hearing people swear a lot, and I'm trying to like understand why that is. Where does that come from? I guess I have vivid memories of my mother telling me not to swear and my mother becoming upset with me for swearing and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's something there. But I don't know, there is something about someone who's just swearing nonstop. Is it unpleasant?
The very first time I ever swore, I was with my great grandmother who was like devout Catholic, and she rinsed my mouth out, and I will never forget the taste. Like I can, even thinking about the memory, like I can taste it. Sunlight dish soap, like the liquid stuff, the lemon one. All like she literally put my head in the sink and like poured it in my mouth. I will never forget. I didn't swear for a long time after that. And all I said was "but." I said "but."
Yeah, and that's not
that
even.
was a swear in her house.
It's like, come on,
I mean,
what?
like, right? Lots of people associate swearing, I think, from young formative years with like negative reactions from the adults around them. And so I think that makes them more inclined to not only rebel against that specific thought, and so that they like tend to swear a lot more as adults in situations where the context doesn't necessarily fit, because they never learned what context is correct. But that they just become distasteful sounding humans because they don't understand the power that words have. They just understand that certain words will elicit negative responses.
It could also, I think you're totally right, but I think that they almost subconsciously recognize the power aspect of it. Like if there's something you're not supposed to say, if you say a word and the adults would be authorities tell you you can't say that, it almost becomes an expression of agency. You know, if somebody's saying, hey, don't say fuck, blah, blah, blah. If you say it, you're sort of taking back your control of yourself. I'm not saying that like little kids are, rebelling against the way we speak or something like that. But I do think there's a little element there, and kids pick up on that stuff. Certainly, you've pointed this out. Kids recognize that they have an effect. If I swear and it freaks the parents out, I have influence over them. And I think that's appealing to kids that probably recognize they don't have much influence over much of anything. But I can use this word and it gets a lot of attention and it has an effect.
Well, I mean, parents who tend to use that type of mentality with their kids when it comes to swearing also then reinforce it by policing adults using the word around their children. Like how many of your friends with kids, if you swear in front of their kids, they'll be like, what did you just say? They're a kid. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Like if my friends come over and swear in front of Zephyr, they police themselves because as children and adults, they've been policed. And I go, it doesn't matter. Like you can say whatever you want. Zephyr understands that you use those words, A, because you're an adult and you can make your own decisions and that you have freedom of speech. B, because you're not using it to hurt anybody. Like we're in the conversation, whatever. Also, a lot of my friends are kind of like beatnik type people. So like that's just a part of their world. So, and maybe that's why I take that kind of, I guess, outlook on the way that people communicate and how swearing fits into that. Because I don't necessarily think that specific words should be corralled into some, I don't know, expletive label. Like really any word can be used in a way to hurt someone with the right intentions and the right inflection and in the right context. So I guess also maybe the way that I talked to Zephyr about that and explained, because like a lot of kids, especially myself, when, I didn't know why swears were bad words. They were just bad words. So like, did I then think about how everything I said had to be a certain way? I was also one of those kids that was taught like children are to be seen and not heard. So I just didn't talk a lot as a kid because I spent a lot of time with adults, unfortunately. And had to police myself in that way. But I think it results in kids not necessarily understanding like how communication affects people. They understand that it can elicit reactions, but why? Like what's the I guess aggravating factor there?
Yeah, like there's certainly, I think it's a good idea to highlight something you said, that it really depends on the intention that's there and stuff like that. Like there's words that are totally benign in most circumstances and somebody uses it in a certain way and suddenly it's very malicious. I mean, like ethnic slurs often follow that. Like for white folks, they say, oh, cracker, I'm like, I'm not really offended by that because I just think of like a saltine.
To me, perfect example of people using a word and thinking it's okay. And I'm going to use a modern version of this, or not modern version, a modern example is the word savage. where do you see that word? How often do you see it used in situations to describe something that has nothing to do with Indigenous people? A lot. It's become a part of popular modern vernacular. But historically, that word has been used to describe Indigenous people and has been used as a tool of oppression. So, like, do people think that the context that they're using it in is okay? Yes. Is it still harmful? Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. But it's weird because what I would like to do is bring this back into mental health and like how we use language to soothe ourselves. And I think it's interesting the way you see the N word kind of reclaimed. You know, obviously it has this terrible association with you know, slavery and oppression and the ways that Black folks were treated and continue to be treated, unfortunately. But then you see the Black community taking the word back and using it. Maybe would it be fair to say that Black folks using the N-word amongst themselves are kind of comforting themselves and comforting each other by removing the stigma attached to it, the association attached to that word? I just think
I
it's
am going
interesting.
to respectfully not have an opinion because I don't know enough about the history of where that connotation came from to accurately form an opinion about how that culture has. I don't even think they've really reclaimed it. I think that it was always theirs, and that white people use it as a tool of oppression, and that, you know, they removed the power from it.
Yeah, I guess that's the interesting dynamic. How words are given power, how they're interpreted, and things like that. You know,
I think in the context of racism, it's not that they're given power, it's that the people who hold the power claim it.
So by reclaiming the word, they're sort of reclaiming power in a way. It's sort of, you know, I'm not educated enough or well-versed or the right color to really talk about this. What I am interested in is how people, you know, comfort themselves in certain ways or relieve stress, right? Like if you hit your hand with the hammer and you say fuck, or if I'm trying to distract myself from a bad memory and start making farting noises with my mouth, you know, like what are those little things? I wouldn't even call them tics, but those little, I don't know what the term would be, little devices that we incorporated into the way we speak, the noises we make. Can we identify those things that we do to relieve ourselves other than going to the bathroom, right? Swearing can be a relief in the right circumstance. Certainly, you're relieving tension through language.
Well, I think
that's interesting.
I think that anything that we do where we vocalize the thoughts that are coming out of our head, whether it be through sounds or more advanced sounds like language, is more or less just the human need to be heard. You know, like if you look at like human history, before we had advanced language, we just grunted at each other and knew what we were trying to communicate, right? And before that, there was like, you know, the cave drawings and stuff where they would draw pictures of what they saw and be like, you and me,
you see this?
we're gonna get it. Yeah, we're gonna go into that cave and make some more of these, right? I think it's just the need to be heard and the need to have that connection with something else. Now, sometimes that connection is yourself, and I think that's why self-soothing things like swearing if you get hurt or making small sounds to distract yourself or to make you happy, for your example, fart sounds, because they're, for whatever reason, hilarious. Like, I'm not gonna shit all over that, pun intended, because I think fart noises are great too.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just, it boils down to the human need to express what's going on inside your head, no matter how simple or complex that is. And I think the more complex it is, the more you need to do it, but the less likely you are to be able to do it constructively.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
think,
something
yeah,
as simple as like hitting your thumb and feeling pain, like that just elicits like, ugh! You know, some people scream, some people swear.
yeah, it's
Same
kind
thing,
of instinctual.
different shape. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
that's interesting, 'cause the way you said, you know, there's something about wanting to be heard. And I was thinking, you know, when I make my little farty noises, I'm not necessarily wanting someone else to hear me. But you said something really interesting about hearing yourself. And I think that's sort of is it profound? No, what's the word? It's fascinating to me. I hadn't really thought of it that way. You know, hearing yourself. It goes back to the mental
I talk to
inventory.
myself all the fucking time because I don't spend
Yeah,
a lot of time with other human beings. So someone's got to hear me. It's gonna be me.
yeah. Or like I catch myself talking to my Roomba. It's like I'm not saying things out loud for the benefit of the Roomba. It's
Mm-hmm.
for my benefit. You know, I hadn't
I
really
talk
put it
to
to.
Atlas a lot. People, when I take him for walks, probably think I'm an absolute maniac because I talk to him like I would just talk to another person.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't understand a damn thing I'm saying, but that's fine.
I mean, interspecies communication is interesting, right? Because I mean, even among humans, you know, there's different languages. There isn't a universal uh, communication, really. Like dogs don't understand
Did you just
cats,
say
and
there's not universal communication between humans?
I just mean like there isn't like one. I want to say language, but that's not exactly what I say. Like there isn't.
90% of human communication is body language.
Yeah,
That's
but the
universal, my dude.
body language too, and I'm thinking about with dogs, but like the tone of your voice, or but that's how animals react, right? Like if a skunk encounters a coyote, they start engaging in those like body languages and snarling and posture.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things become really important.
I think
um
tone doesn't really change a lot across language. Like you can be sarcastic in any language, you're just using different verbal words.
but I bet with your dog, if you said absolute gibberish to it in an angry tone versus the same gibberish in kind of a playful tone, the dog doesn't care what you're saying. It certainly reacts to the tone. You
Oh,
know, it
absolutely.
might
I
get
have
freaked out
yelled
and
at
run
him
away.
with a smile on my face, and he's like, "Huh?"
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things, if I see dogs, you know, I'll pet it. I'll go, "Oh, you're so stupid. Who's stinky?" You know, they don't care what you're saying. They just like the, you know, the tone and the attention and stuff.
Atlas, I think, absolutely thinks that his name is Stinky because I call him that more than I call him anything else.
And to him, it doesn't matter.
To him,
It's
he's just
the
like, my human loves me.
it's like this going back to like the way we associate things. Like it's not the Atlas doesn't care about, well, I guess he does care about the words a little bit, but he knows, you know, the human I love often makes this noise. It sounds like Stinky when I'm around, and it usually ends with some petting and stuff like that. We
So I tried
associate
something.
things.
I tried something really interesting when I was training him to do like simple commands. If I just say a command, he'll like half the time he'll actually do it. But I use hand gestures for specific commands. So like this one is sit, lay down, roll over, like, you know, and if I extend my arm towards him, that's paw. Like I don't have to say words. I just make hand signs at him and he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." You
Yeah.
know, so I think that because so much of our communication is body language, I think when you're alone a lot, you need to hear yourself
Mm.
because you can't body communicate with yourself.
Yeah, it would
Like
be very difficult.
you can be conscious in your body, but like because we experience body dysmorphia so much more commonly than we used to because of the types of like media that we consume and how we're exposed to them, it's really difficult to look in the mirror and be like, yes, I
Yeah.
can see that you are happy right now, even though you're smiling. The inside of your head goes, you're smiling because you want to be smiling, not because you're actually happy, right? Like there's a disconnect between that part of being like in your own presence. So I think that like verbal speech adds an element to like human to human contact, but when you're by yourself, like it's a necessity.
Yeah, it's keeping, if you're by yourself, it's like keeping an attachment to something you're being denied, or you know, like, because we're such social animals, even when we're alone we attempt to be social with ourselves. It's kind of interesting.